And welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the HighLowSports podcast. We appreciate you all for joining us here on this Wednesday evening, or if it's one of your favorite places to catch podcasts later on in the week. It's always great to sit here and talk sports with you all. Is DJ. I'm not joined by my co-host Kelcey once again. He is still on holiday, and I refuse to let him work while he is on vacation. I run a very tight ship around here, so don't worry. He will be back soon, and we will hear a cameo from him a little bit later on, if you will, per se. But don't worry, he'll be back next week. So anyone who gets sick and tired of hearing my voice, don't worry about that. But you won't be subjected to just hearing me rant all day today like we did last week, because I did bring a guest, one that many of you are quite familiar with, one of the loudest people I know, a diehard Eagles fan, for better or for worse. Anthony Edwards' biggest Stan account might have an Anthony Edwards tattoo, which is to be confirmed or not. And probably the only person who still says snakes alive that I know. We got our good friend Jared from the Korner Booth.
What's up, DJ? How you doing, bud?
Always a pleasure. Glad to have you on. We have a very busy weekend. It's only Wednesday already. We have just gotten started. The sports world has not waited up for any of us as well. So we're going to go ahead and leap right into it. We're not going to waste any time. We're going to jump right into the tip-off, brought to you, of course, by SeatGeek. Use code HighLowSports. Get yourself $20 off your first purchase of any set of tickets, whether sporting events, concerts, or anything that requires you to have a ticket on your phone. Go and use HighLowSports for $20 off your first set of tickets. And you know what, Jared, we're going to leap right into it because this is some ones that you know very well, partially from your co-host and partially because, well, we've talked about it ad nauseum. We got some receivers on the move. Davante Adams is heading to the Big Apple. We now have the East Rutherford Packers underway, and we do have Amari Cooper escaping jail, getting out of the prison that is the Cleveland Browns, on his way to play with arguably a top 3 quarterback in Josh Allen and a somewhat functional organization when Sean McDermott's not, being Sean McDermott. I guess we'll keep that.
Oh, good. We're gonna finally not talk about it for once.
Exactly. But I'll let you open up the flawless one, Jared. We'll start with Davante Adams because that's kind of the big one. We've all been waiting for it. It finally happens. It's a third round pick that could be a second round pick, but it absolutely will not be because the stipulations for that are basically be an all pro or play in the AFC Championship game or Super Bowl. So possible, I guess, but unlikely. But what are your thoughts? Davante Adams joining Aaron Rodgers, Alan Lazard. All we're missing is Jordy Nelson at this point and Mason Crosby well on their way. But how are we feeling?
For the Jets, I like it. I think the biggest problem with them is they had nobody really to respect the other side of the ball. And what we're learning in this NFL, this new NFL, is that you need to have two either tier 1 or tier 1B weapons. I think Philadelphia, Cincinnati, Baltimore, whenever they have whatever tight end they count as a B weapon. Kansas City with whatever receiver Mahomes decides to use that week with Travis Kelcey and Pacheco when he comes back. The Vikings back with Cousins, and when they had Diggs and then Thielen, and Jefferson, now Addison. It's kind of a weird dynamic that you have to have two weapons to really have a dynamic offense. And we saw Monday night, the Buffalo Bills were able to just play bracket coverage on Garrett Wilson. He did have 9 catches, but it was the most inefficient 9 catches I've ever seen in my life. I think he was targeted almost. It was over double digits, but like they were having trouble getting him the ball. They were trying to feed him, which was great, but I think the biggest problem, and it really comes down to, was the Jets. They were like waiting. How long could they hold out before they have to move on and get another receiver? Because they need another one if they ever want any shot at competing. Lucky enough for them, the Bills aren't that good, but obviously now they got the next receiver we're talking about in this trade segment. The biggest thing to me is that Aaron Rodgers gets his wish. So now it's all on them. They got rid of Robert Saleh, who honestly should have he always should have just been like Wink Martindale, just been a defense coordinator. You get half the responsibility. You get paid about maybe 50%, maybe a little more, and you're always the hero. Unless you are the Eagles last year, that's a whole different story. Anyway, I digress. I think the Jets really got the win in this deal, but now it's on them to put it up. I believe if he's not an all-pro or something, it's only a third-round pick, but if he is an all-pro first or second team, it bumped up to a second, which is probably one of the most interesting conditions I've ever seen to a conditional pick. It also makes me very upset about the whole Jahan Dotson trade, who's got a grand total of 6 catches for us. But I would blame that more on Kellen Moore and Nick Sirianni fighting over the joystick for the offense than Jahan Dotson's play. So that being said, Jets definitely get an A win here. Like this is what they wanted. This is what they got. Tay needs to be Rodgers' security blanket. He doesn't need Garrett Wilson will take the top off the defense. I think it kind of fits their system and it works for what they're doing. He knows the lingo for the offense, so it really shouldn't be that big of a jump for it. Except he's just trading New York green for Wisconsin green. So
exactly. I will say what I do for everybody out there who's trying to hang the Raptors in East Rutherford. Let's reel it in. This is not 2020, 21. I'm not expecting Davante Adams 20 touchdowns now. I think we should reel that in. I don't think we're going to see that receiver 1, quarterback 1, MVP, offense player of the year, like crazy numbers. I think where he's going to be incredibly efficient is those third down conversions. Just the timing and the rapport they naturally have, the back shoulders. We know how dangerous those have always been. Just when it's 3rd down and 6, because let's say they lose yards on a second down or something. At 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, that's where he's like, all right, Tay's around there somewhere. If they have to roll coverage, then we already know Garrett Wilson's going to cook on the backside because he's toasting good corners. Now you put him on the number 2 plus Alan Lazard, all of that. So I think 3rd downs can be incredibly effective. I don't know how much of the needle moves. It obviously makes them better. Davante makes 31 teams better. And honestly, it might be 32. The only reason, he makes 32 teams better. Every single team he goes on, he makes them a little bit better in some way, shape, or form.
I was going to say, I'm like, even if like it's you or me throwing the football, he's still going to get 5-6 catches for a couple yards. It's not going to be that bad.
Exactly. I mean, even Gardner Minshew can get him the ball. We didn't see a lot of it, but so he's going to make every team better. I don't know if he helps what they need because they still got the offensive line's still shaky. It's better than it was at the start of the year, but it's still leaky at points. It still gives me concern, especially because that's a 40-year-old back there his entire career has been so dangerous when he improvs. Like he obviously is a Hall of Famer from the pocket, but what makes him top 10 was when he'd improvise.
Yeah.
And now he can't really improvise because he's 1,000 years old, but maybe one play a game. So they got to find a way to lock up and protect him. They got to get the offense kind of on track still. I know the Nat Hackett, the Downing, they just got to get all that in order. I think once the Ducks are in a row, they could be a playoff team, but they got to win 9 of the next 12 games, probably, give or take, to get 11 wins. That's where they don't have a lot of room for error moving forward.
Well, let's be honest, DJ, and I mean, I don't mean to divert the segment at all, but who really ahead of them besides the Bills, Chiefs, Ravens?
Which is why I think they're very much still in it with this.
Yeah, they're very much in it. Like the AFC is not the world beater we thought it was going to be this year. Honestly, the NFL really doesn't have elite teams. They're like, you're going to tell me, like, I was thinking about it the other day. Who's the most elite team in the NFC? It's the Lions. Who's the most elite team in the AFC? Coin toss between the Texans and the Chiefs. Depends on the week.
Kansas City's probably up there too, even though it looks ugly. That's
what I said. I said Chiefs and Texans.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Ravens, Texans. I'm deaf. So
no, Ravens are tier 2 to me because I think they're too inconsistent. I think they have the most complete when they are able to run the football. They are a tier 1 team, but they have to be up to do that. And if they don't have a hot start, that's where they struggle. And you look at the NFC, there's one elite team, and there's a bunch of teams that either have injuries, coaching issues, or are just starting to get guys back. And the Vikings have kind of just high step and like, yeah, we're in first place, but it's kind of like that the guy swimming in the shark movie Meg. He's just chilling there, but you see the big monster coming for him, and it's like the Vikings' time is almost over. But it's been a fun ride. And back to the AFC with the Jets. Yeah, there's like there's 7 playoff spots. They could still catch Buffalo because Buffalo, even Cooper aside, it's not an amazing football team. We'll talk about that in a second, but like I think they can win this division with 10 wins. I'm gonna be straight up with you. I think they could. It's not out of the realm of possibility. We know that the Dolphins are tail spinning unless the Patriots go on some miracle run and Drake May is the second coming of Tom Brady. I think they got a shot.
Depending on who you ask, he might just be in. My math was a little bit off. In order for them to get 10 wins, they will have to go 8-3 the rest of the way, if my math is correct. So it's very doable. They got to get they dug a little bit of a hole. We'll see if Davante can dig him out of there. Obviously, every team gets better with Davante, so they're going to be fine. And they get the Steelers this week doing a quarterback switch, which we'll talk about a little bit later too. So then maybe it's just what the doctor ordered, but at the same time, that's TJ Watt, Cameron Hayward, Highsmith, and all those guys over there. So that's going to be very interesting for sure. But you mentioned it too. We'll jump into it. Not the only receiver on the move, not the only multiple-time Pro Bowler on the move. Amari Cooper, who is 30 years old, has been on 4 teams and has yet to see free agency, living a very wild life so far. Escapes the prison that is Cleveland, and it's not traded. He is escaped. He was relieved. He is he is sent to above. He has been sent to Buffalo, gets out of Cleveland, 3rd round pick basically, and then like a 6 for a 7 basically a 3rd round pick for Amari Cooper, and he's $800,000 the rest of the year because they front loaded his salary in the offseason after a restructure. So
yeah,
you get a Pro Bowl receiver to Josh Allen who is having. He's not as freaky Josh Allen this year, but he still has yet to turn the ball over through 6 weeks. I think that's like the 3rd longest stretch of all time, which is asinine to say from a guy who had 20 turnovers last year. You have Khalil Shakir, very dynamic underneath weapon. Kincaid and Knox, who at any given point can be very viable tight ends. Keon Coleman has his moments. He's a young rookie. Now you give Amari Cooper, who's still a top 5 route runner in the game, in my opinion. He's still good luck jamming him. His footwork may not look. When they do those ladder drills, we see them on like Facebook Reels, Instagram, where everyone does the ladder drills. It's like, wow, look how fast he is. Jerry Jeudy's the prime example of it. Then in the game, it's like, where is that? Amari Cooper does it in the game and leaves defenders in the dust. So I love this move for the Bills personally.
I think love it for Cooper. I love it.
Well, yeah, that's the biggest
like
winner in this.
Sunday, I think he had one against my Eagles. He had what, 1 catch, 2 catches. Then again, he was getting locked up by Coyne Mitchell. So I mean,
he was not trying. He's looking back, so I'm not getting the ball on you.
Yeah, I mean, in both cases, I mean, listen, Mitchell should get consideration for defense rookie there with his efficiency alone. But
when you're on Mitchell Stan Club, FU Colts are not taking him. We stand
by. When he fell to us, I was on your show. You saw my reaction. I was like,
the best defensive player in the draft, and he just falls into the 20s. Unbelievable.
We got the 2 best corners in the draft, and nobody's talking about it because DeJean looking like a nickel monster. I will say this about Cooper with the Bills, though. They don't need a deep threat, which is not what Cooper is anymore, but he's the Keenan Allen route runner type, like you said, the in-between, the intermediate, the 3-quarter routes, where their offense is lacking. Shakir is great in the short distance and intermediate. Honestly, as much as we dog on him for being a rookie, Keon Coleman, when he gets that ball in his hands, when he's moving, it's impressive. Honestly, this is why he's one of my favorite rookies in this draft for receiver. That's me, a Miami fan, saying about a Florida State receiver. It should tell you a lot. But I think it's really going to help their offense. It only plugs one hole in a ship that looks like it got hit by a blunderbuss. There's a lot of stuff they had to fix. But at least because I went back and watched Monday night's tape on, I believe yesterday morning, I went back and watched it again. And both teams are incredibly flawed. Ergo, why I said before, the Jets could easily win this division. And so the only team that really is mathematically winning, I think, is the Dolphins, because their entire offense is falling apart at the seams, and Mike McDonald looks like the worst coach in the NFL now that he is of Tua. So,
but the Colts this weekend, they'll right the ship pretty easily against that defense. They'll be good. They'll get it all figured out this weekend. But
who's playing, Flacco or Richardson?
Doesn't matter. Offense. I'm just saying the offense will get on track against that defense. They'll get on track.
JT to freaking play this week, man. I'm really tired of having to start Bucky Irving and Alex Mattis as my running backs in my family league. It's killing me right now.
Literally, I have been having to play Bucky Irving instead of JT too, so we're ironically on the same page.
I almost played Trey Sermon, and I talked myself out of it, but then I didn't start. I think I started Antonio Gibson. That was just a mistake.
That did not work. You did dodge the ball with Sermon, but you got hit with another ball with Antonio Gibson. That did not work.
It was rough. I lost to my cousin who barely watches football. I was like, really?
Those are the worst ones. Last thing I'll wrap up with on Amari too is they obviously, like you mentioned, they are incredibly flawed. That is not a good team. It is Josh Allen carrying the ship. What they did with Amari Cooper is they basically gave him like a hand truck. Basically, he's moving the entire house, but at least they gave him a hand truck there, so it's a little bit easier. That defense is at best spotty. The offensive line is
score a shit ton of points. That's never been the issue.
Exactly.
It's now
it's easier to score a few more.
Yeah, they're going to be in 35, 38 shootouts every weekend, but it's fine. Honestly, it's great. That's great for football, so I'm not complaining. The Browns honestly start selling everybody. We'll take Myles Garrett over in Philadelphia, have him pair up with my boy Jalen Carter on one side. Let's see somebody stop that.
Okay, we're not going to go that far now, but I was going to say, if they do start fire selling, the one team that should call them immediately is the Chicago Bears. They should be like, what do you want for Joel Bitonio? We got Carolina's second-round pick, which is basically a first-round pick. We'll give you that for Joel Bitonio. That's the perfect trade for them. Caleb Williams doesn't have to die. And then the Browns get another pick they desperately need, and it's virtually a first-round pick at this point, unless Carolina goes on a run.
Also, Steve Smith might be a sage for how he just eviscerated Jerry Jeudy, and I watched him live for the first time in probably about 2 years, and I'm like, he's the same receiver I saw in 2021. He's terrible.
Literally nothing has changed. Mark
He-
Slayer roasted him for like three hours.
I
straight
got a bone to pick with Mark Slayer. They'll talk about that in the last segment, but that's a whole different argument. But yeah, no, they're both on point. He is maybe the worst. Like when they went and got him from Denver, I'm like, wow.
And then you paid
awesome.
him too.
They paid. Oh my god, how are you this bad?
Arguably the worst team in the league right now as far as worst situation. They think they took the mantle from Carolina because at least Carolina has some cap flexibility. Even if you take our records,
can also move if they really wanted to. They can move Bryce Young and start over.
Exactly. Like they have an option here. They were bad for a year and a half. They screwed themselves. They got some work to do if they want to get out of this hole, or they better get really, really lucky, or play Jameis Winston. Maybe you get Heisman Trophy with Jameis.
Don't not tempt me with a good time, okay? I got really excited when he checked in for that one play that Brennan Grant blew up. I was like, am I going to see the Jameis Winston experience?
You know, he can eat W's all day. They might as well give it a try at this point. You got nothing to lose. Instead, just bring him in for QB sneaks, which is still the weirdest thing. Deshaun's 30. He's not 40-year-old Joe Flacco. You don't need a designated quarterback sneaker, Jameis Winston. But I digress. Before we get too lost on the Browns, this could take an entire show complaining about how bad they are. But we do got some big games here in the SEC. We're going to pivot to college football before we circle back. We got some SEC showdowns here. Is Tennessee and Alabama, too. What we thought were powerhouses 14 days ago, now potentially reeling a little bit as well, too. Alabama losing to Vanderbilt and surviving South Carolina. Tennessee losing to Arkansas and Florida, surprisingly. So we'll start with that one. I'm just going to keep it simple. Who do we got in this one? And if whoever loses this game, do you think that basically eliminates them from the playoff run?
This game is really odd to me because I'm not sure how to attack it, if that makes sense. Because I watched Alabama basically try to give that game away to South Carolina, but South Carolina's lack of experience and youth ended up shooting them in the foot. The onside kick that should have never gotten past the first line of on their hands team was recovered. Then I saw Lenore Sellers yeet one to the back of the end zone when he had a guy not open, but it was a makeable throw for a D1 athlete. My biggest issue with this game is that I watched Tennessee lose in Fayetteville. And obviously, listen, as much as, Arkansas will always be a mid-tier SEC team. They were fun when KJ Jefferson was there, but now it's kind of like they're still kind of a fringe. I don't trust Alabama's defense. I really don't. They looked like the Eagles' defense of last year, where they got lucky turnovers towards the end of the game that saved wins. Not the Alabama defense that I've come to know and expect and almost demand from being friends with guys like Kevin and Cruz, who are both Alabama grads, who have told me for years how joyless murder balls are thing. The only thing joyless is watching that defense. It is abysmal. They are letting freshmen and running backs and everything else just run through them. And I am not even going to try to pronounce his last name, but the quarterback for Tennessee, the freshman, is sensational. And I am a big fan of his. I love Sampson, the running back. I think he's super explosive. I love how he's one cut, gets downhill, and moves. Thornton, the receiver, as well, is he's entertaining. They're big, nice, big target. But Tennessee itself as an offense is a very fun, cohesive unit. And I don't know what to make of Alabama anymore. They don't have that dominant player on defense, and offensively, Jalen Milroe looks average. So I guess I'm taking Tennessee. I'm going to talk myself into it because I was going to take Alabama all week, but I'm trying to find reasons to take Bama. And besides, one of my best friends is a Bama grad. That's basically my only reason I would take them.
Something happened during halftime of that Georgia game because ever since that point, they have not looked like the same team. I do not know what it was. I don't know if somebody spiked the Gatorade and it's had a 2-week-long effect. But second half of that Georgia game, they took Ryan Williams' heroics, a 17-year-old, saving them basically after Georgia mounted that comeback. They needed the same thing in South Carolina. They fell to Vanderbilt. I don't know what's going on. You mentioned that defense. We have not seen an Alabama defense that rough in the last 20 years. In that same vein, though, I'm kind of in the same vein as you. I'm taking Tennessee because if they lose, they're done. They can't make a playoff run with 3 losses, I think, in the SEC at this point.
Mm-hmm.
There is a little bit more of a must win. Alabama on street cred alone, as long as they finish strong, they can find a way in there with 2 losses. They'll squeak it as the 11th or 12th team. So we'll agree with that one. I don't love this game for either team. This is the one you don't bet on, except maybe the over.
It's in the 6-pack, so you're gonna have to pick it tomorrow again anyway. So
I'm going to deal with it then. Right now, I'm doing this reluctantly. I'm picking the over today. I'll figure out the 6-pack tomorrow.
I've also learned when it comes to betting against a guy like Matt who goes in these heaters that last months, you just basically pick games that are suicide either way. So a couple of them, like last week, he shot 1 for 4 in college. Me and Chris we won 4 for 5. So this is one of those games where it's gonna be you're just gonna say flip a coin and say please, 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 please. Damn it.
Every time. But speaking of other games, we do have a matchup of 2 teams that are not reeling necessarily, 2 teams that look to be playing in late December, early January, with Texas taking on Georgia 1 versus 5, which we thought might be 2 undefeated not too long ago, 1 versus 2, but it's still 1 versus 5. Coyne Ewers came back, slower start against Oklahoma, but then picked it up and they absolutely eviscerated them and made the Red River rivalry. The red stood for blood, and that was Oklahoma's blood in the water. And then Georgia is still Georgia. They haven't looked quite as freaky dominant as the last 3 years, the last couple weeks, but they're still winning comfortably. Like, they're not quite covering the freakish spreads is all. Carson Beck is an okay college quarterback. They're still loaded. Malachi Starks is awesome. We got to know the deal with Georgia. Nothing has changed here. But for this one, this one's tough because every ounce of me wants to pick Georgia for the chaos and having another number 1 team fall. But I just have trouble seeing it. I have trouble seeing Carson Beck dicing that defense up and then Coyne Ewers completely wetting the bed long enough. I see Isaiah Bond. I don't see them containing him if he's healthy. All of the weapons in there. And even if Coyne Ewers is terrible, I could see them plugging in Arch Manning, who might be a top 3 college quarterback himself right now as well. There's too many ways for Texas to win. I have a hard time picking against them right now, even with a team as outstanding as Georgia, who, if you'd asked me 3 weeks ago, I'd have probably leaned Georgia. But I have a hard time picking against Texas right now.
My biggest thing with this one is that I can't when I pick a game, I look at usually who wins either side of the ball unless there's a glaring advantage somewhere and the coaching. But let's be honest, Kirby Smart and Steve Sarkisian are both kind of the same nut, just different sides. Then you go to quarterback. Glaring advantage for Texas. I am not you remember this from our college show. I am not a fan of Carson Beck. I think he is basically a more polished Jake Fromm. That's what he is.
An uglier Jake Fromm, but
hey, listen, he's dating one of the Cavendish sisters. Life can be worse.
Touche. You know what? I'm not familiar with this game. I retract that, Carson Beck. You are a dog.
Yeah, one dates the overpaid tight end from the Cowboys, and the other one dates Carson Beck. So they're both doing okay. But I will say this: Georgia has weapons, but they lack. I guess it's like having a beat up Charger with good tires and good rims and a spoiler on the back because the engine's still crap. When you look at Texas got 2 different running backs who got over, I believe, over 300 yards rushing. Almost 300 yards rushing. They have 3 receivers over 300 already and almost 1 more at it. And that's just their basic top tier weapons. They had 2 quarterbacks to throw. Both almost have 1,000 yards. Archie's got 900 and Coyne Ewers is about 1 pass away from clocking that as well. They haven't missed a beat regardless of a quarterback change because of injury. Now, do I think Archie May we're a little over the gun on the Archie May? I think, yeah, definitely. I think he needs another year to kind of cook in the oven, but
100%.
Coyne Ewers is the best quarterback in this draft class. Give or take.
Not even close.
Give or take, if you want to talk about my boy from Miami, that's the only guy who's close.
We'll wait on that one. He's
listen. I'll just hey, listen. I don't miss on quarterback prospects. You know this. Generally, I don't miss on them. So shout out to CJ Stroud and Jaden Daniels for just making the Jared is right train and just keep on rolling.
CJ Stroud guy.
Big, yeah, me too. All right,
let's say we're hitting the same note.
Yeah, we're basically hitting the same notes here. Me telling Josh 6 times that Bo Nix was an average quarterback at best. Anyway, I'll digress. Texas all the way. Georgia is going to have 2 losses. Honestly, I kind of saw Georgia losing to Bama, so this is kind of just par for the course. I think we're going back. I think Georgia's 2 years of dominance have kind of faded. We're going back to Kirby just recruiting great, having 2 losses, first round exit out of the playoff. or a great bowl game.
They just haven't had enough players arrested recently. I think once they get a couple of rap sheets
Colby
going,
Young's
then they'll
got
be right
pinched
back.
today or
Did another
yesterday.
one? Oh, never mind. I might have to change
Former
my pick.
Miami receiver Colby Young should have stayed in South Beach, brother.
Yeah, well, in that case, I might have to change my pick. They're only good when they're getting arrested, so I might have to change my pick here as well. But you know, we'll wait. They need to get one more before Saturday. Then I'm fully flipped.
Oh, jeez. All right.
But as we know with college football, those who've been tuning in the last few weeks know that we have Kelcey is making his cameo here for us too. As we've been going with Kelcey's greatest gamble every week, he picks a pick for us, goes through it, finds a pick, and well, let's just take a look. Last week, Vanderbilt over Kentucky is the one he gave us, and he pulled that one off again. That now brings Kelcey to 3-1-1 on the season, with the one being a push based on the point spread. This week, he's telling you to take Nebraska and the Mahomes doppelgangers against Indiana in that high-flying offense. Money line at plus 200, spread 6.5. So see if you can continue to follow the coin flip from Kelcey. See if you can win yourself some money. He's won me a little bit this year as well. And, of course, DJ's Best Bets every Sunday. We are now 18-4-2 overall with a 3-0-1 record last week. Now that is 7-0-1 in the last 2 weeks. So we do our best to try and win you some money here. And, of course, the Korner Booth pregame every Thursdays. That way you can get your 6-pack of picks during as well, too. So, but we're not fully gambling degenerates here. Only bet what you can afford to lose. Don't be reckless. Don't bet the house. Only bet what you can afford to get rid of, basically. So if you have 10 to get rid of, okay. If you have 1,000, lucky. But don't do it if you have $1,001 to your name. That's where you cut yourself short. But
nobody wins the lottery gambling.
Nobody wins the lottery gambling, and the house always wins. You just got to make sure you don't give up your house to match the house. So, but before we get out of the tip-off, we got to return to the NFL really quick. Is Justin Fields, after a 4-2 start for the Steelers, looks like he might be heading to the bench. We might be seeing the debut of Danger Russ this weekend against the Jets, taking first-team reps in practice. Looks like the calf is good to go. Fields on the season with, I believe it is 10 total touchdowns, 5 rushing, 5 passing, just the 1 turnover, I believe. Steelers 4-2, obviously led by the defense run game. Very old school, classic Steelers football to a T. But Mike Tomlin making I don't know how I feel about this move. I've not watched the all 22 all year of the Steelers. I haven't broken them down, dove in depth to it. I don't have that amount of free time to put myself through that. But unless that film is just absolutely terrible and Justin is leaving 30 points a game on the board, I don't know why you necessarily make this move. Does a 40-year-old Russell Wilson necessarily put you over the top to win the AFC North, which you are already leading? I'm very curious what the rationale is behind this move right now, especially after Fields just gave you 2 rushing touchdowns and a 30-point beatdown of the Raiders, and scored 32 points against the Raiders. It's weird timing to do it. If maybe after the loss to the Cowboys, even though he played fine in that game too, it's very weird timing to be like, you know what? Yeah, we're going to go with Russell Wilson now and against the Jets for your first primetime game. Now your first game back, the Jets defense, now with Davante Adams, so they have a little bit of rejuvenated life on top of it. I don't know what Mike Tomlin's doing. We kind of joked about this before the show. I'm trying to get that 9-8 record to just not be above 500 yet again, baby. We're going for it.
I guess let me offer devil's advocate here. I watched a lot of Steelers football, ironically, this year. Their offense looks very sluggish. That Cowboys game was, I think, the penultimate version of it. Let's toss the Raiders game out the window. That was just a beatdown. The Raiders team's quit. The AP's team has quit on him. Not on him, but they've quit on this season. They know they need to. I think Antonio Pierce is going to keep his job. I think the biggest problem is that they just don't have a quarterback. They will go get one in the top 10. Hell, I'd love for Cam Ward to go there. Honestly, I think he'd fit in great. Fields has always had the problem of a lack of arm talent, not in the terms of throwing arm strength, but in terms of leading receivers, throwing accurately, everything else. So right now he's shooting 106 for 160. That's roughly 55%, maybe a little less. So that's below 60.
Is it? Yeah, I don't 106. Yeah. I'm not a math major, so but either way, go and continue.
So 106 for 160, it's below 60%. I believe the going average in the NFL is high 50s, low 60s. So
66. So he's
so there you go. He's on the nose. 106, 160. Damn. I stand corrected. Here's the problem. The offense looks sluggish. And honestly, against the Raiders, if it wasn't for a couple of Najee Harris runs, and George Pickens barely getting the ball. He's a premier receiver. And let's be honest, that defense is carrying them. Why not experiment with it? I mean, listen, I'll just say if this for one game. Listen, if he's awful, it comes out he looks awful against the Jets. Oh, they're still 4-3 in a very obtainable AFC. Let's be honest, the Ravens are them and the Ravens going to go back and forth for the rest of the season. The Bengals cannot stop a cold, and the Browns are a dumpster fire. So basically, it's a two-man race for the AFC North. And in the wild card, they have to worry about the loser of the AFC East. And that's about it. Seriously. Because I don't see anybody else but the Texans making out of the South.
Oh,
and
that division stinks.
Same thing with I don't trust the Chargers getting into a shootout. So basically the West is a one-horse race. So yeah, like I'm basically either team, both these teams are making the playoffs. Ravens and all three of these teams, Ravens, Jets, and Steelers. So I guess honestly, try it right now because listen, the upside is Russ even looks like a decent version of what he was in the back half of that Denver tenure when he honestly was 22-6 touchdown interceptions, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Something ridiculous.
Good numbers,
very great numbers for how bad they were. You give him a good defense like he had in Seattle with a great number one in George Pickens and a great running game. I mean, I'm game. Why not give Ross 2 starts? If he's terrible, you always got Justin. Justin's been getting flip-flopped on his entire career. What's to say anything new? And Ross was always the starter from day one. This is why Tomlin kind of gets a get out of jail free card. If they announced Fields was the starter and then Ross was injured, I'd say, yeah, this is messed up. But Ross was the starter and he gets hurt. Fields plays okay. He could have played a lot better, and they're 4-2. I would try Russ out. If he's terrible, you go back to Fields.
My only concern with it is with Arthur Smith calling the shots, and we've seen what he does with players and his offense and his play calling and just the overall situation he does. If you can get game manager Russ, the one that won playoff games with Seattle, that just kind of made the big plays, or like you mentioned, the Denver one, you might be onto something. Maybe Arthur Smith won't. Maybe he'll actually put George Pickens on the field more than 30% of the plays, unlike what he did against the Cowboys. Maybe they got some other things to shore up. If you can get that game manager Russ, I think it'll be beneficial. It'll be great for George Pickens. He'll actually get the ball on occasion, even if it's just moon balls up the sideline from Russ. And you can always play both of them. This is the team to run the 2-quarterback system. Put them both on the field at the same time. Let Russell throw it to Justin Fields. I want to see some goofy shit from those two. I want to see Justin Fields reverse pass up the sideline so he can still rip it. When he throws it down the field, he's weirdly accurate.
Double quarterback wildcat.
This is what dreams are made of. Kelcey's been preaching for the 2-quarterback system since before we started the podcast. This is the time to do it in the NFL. I am all for it. So if they can make that happen, please make it happen. But anyway, that's enough of that rant. No more Fields goal. That's going to do it for the tip-off. That's going to take us into the main event. And for the main event, we're going to do something very simple. A test as good as time. We're gonna pick some games. We're gonna look at some odds. We're gonna just pick who we think is gonna win. So we're gonna go down the entire slate here of NFL games from top to bottom. So we're gonna start with the Broncos Saints Thursday night, the Sean Payton Bowl. No Chris Olave, no Rashid Shaheed, no Patrick Surtain II at the same time. So it's a blunder bowl at this point. Right now, the Broncos are slightly favored at -143. Jared, I'll let you lead the way. Are you taking a money line? Are you taking a spread? Oh, I'll rephrase that. Who do you think is going to win, and do you touch the spread?
Saints outright. Spencer Rattler gets the win in his home debut. Unless he was home against the Bucs. I think he was home against the Bucs. Yeah. Anyway, second start for Rattler. He gets the win. Yeah, it sucks. Shaheed and Olave aren't playing, but I mean they're creative enough with the whole Taysom Hill thing. They still have Alvin Kamara. They're able to establish the run, and to be honest with you. Dude, Denver's one win was, I think, a very sleepy Bucs team. That's really in a Jets team that, honestly, I swear probably all have like melted hands from that raw, wet weather in the Meadowlands. So, honestly, give me the Saints. It's Thursday. Thursday night games are always a little screwy. But listen, I'll take them. What is it? It's -3 at home for the Saints right now.
+3 for them right now. They're
+3 the Saints. I'll take I'm riding hot on home dogs right now. Give me the Saints.
We're in agreement on this one. Even though I hate that Rashid Shaheed and Spence and Chris Olave aren't there, I think Rattler. One thing he does better than Derek Carr does is he doesn't panic throw to whoever the play is designed for. It looks like that was Derek Carr's biggest thing. The amount of times he just said, "Oh shoot," chucked it up in Rashid, hoping Rashid Shaheed was out there. we didn't see that as much from Rattler. And I think even going back to South Carolina, it's not really been his game. So I think he can adapt in this situation pretty well. And I'm really worried about Denver's rush defense. We kind of saw J.K. Dobbins, Kamani Vidal, and what the Chargers did last week to him. Their secondary, when healthy, is still elite across the board. Problem is the front seven leaves something to be desired. And now a top 3 corner in the game is not going to be suiting up. So I'm going to take the Saints definitely with the +3. But for a pick 'em, I'm leaning towards the Saints as well. Sean Payton doesn't do great in these revenge games. We remember the Nat Hackett game last year too. Supposed to get him back and show why you talk all that trash, and you lost to Zach Wilson. So exactly. So you know what? Give me the Saints as well. Even though I think Saints fans kind of want to lose this game, because I mean Dennis Allen probably gets fired, and then they can move on from that. Finally, they're gonna have to wait another week, unfortunately. But Patriots Jaguars, what's that?
Gift that keeps on giving.
It never stops. So we're going to go to the game that is now punishing those overseas for past events. The Jaguars taking on the Patriots. But at least we do get Drake May and what might be the final swan song for Dougie P, depending on how it goes. Right now, -5.5 favorite for the Jaguars. So almost a full 6-point favorite for the Jacksonville. How are we feeling, good sir? Do you think Drake May gets it done, or maybe the Prince that was promised keeps everything going one more week?
If this game is in American soil, I would say give me New England outright. I love how offense looked. Even if it was against a shell defense from the Texans, because they were up by so much, they were just letting Drake May sling it. I will say this, though. The Jags are a great team when they're in London. I don't know what it is. And like you said, Doug Peterson's coaching for his job. I'll go out with a bang like Dougie P here. I'll take the Jags outright. I think they got to move the football, but I believe isn't Etienne out, so we're going to get the ball to Tank Bigsby a lot. And I believe I saw Gabe Davis is questionable too.
I think he's a little banged up. Evan Ingram's now questionable after making his return last week, but I think he's just going to be questionable for a few weeks. I think he's good to go as well. So I think otherwise,
I think that the Patriots will cover, but give me Jags money line.
Well, it's going to be boring to start because that was the exact same pick I had. 5.5 is way too much for a team like this where neither team's going to score a lot of points. I think it's going to be a very lower scoring game. I think Josh Allen, Hines, and Trayvon Walker spend a lot of time in that backfield. And I also think the Patriots defense is still, I know CJ Stroud just toasted him, but that is CJ Stroud in the Texans. That's the anomaly. You can't compare. Otherwise, the Patriots defense has played pretty well. So I think it's a low scoring game. Patriots cover, but Jacksonville has no choice but to win. They really have no choice. The Patriots at this point, they gave up to we're tired of getting you killed, Jacoby Brissett. This is not fair. Let's see what Drake May has. So we're in the same boat there. One of my favorite games of the week, Seattle taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta -3. I'm going to go first on this one. I love the Seahawks, but they are reeling right now. Give me Atlanta to cover. I think Kirk Cousins is rolling. Drake London's rolling. The offense is going. Give me Atlanta and to cover with -3.
Here's the kicker about Atlanta, and this is what bugs me about picking this game, is both these teams have screwed me this year on multiple occasions betting-wise. So it kind of comes back to who do I trust, who I think needs the win more. To me, Atlanta is the best team in the NFC South. I will die on the hill that the Buccaneers literally beat up Eagles team and struggled to beat anybody else and lost to the Falcons I believe, at home in overtime, which was one of the best games of the year so far. And the Seahawks are a couple bonehead mistakes from being 2-0 in the last 2 weeks. So give me Seattle. I still think Geno is the engine that runs that ship. I think, honestly, now that they're getting more continuity back to the running game, DK, and I believe everyone's healthy in the offense, DK, Lockett, and JSN. Listen, as much as they can't stop a lot of teams, the Falcons have a good secondary, but they still seem to have problems, struggle. They still seem to struggle stopping teams. So I think when it comes down to it, Geno in a dome, I'm kind of down for it. It should be a fun game. I think it's going to take the over easily. But yeah, give me the over. Give me the Seahawks money line.
What a weird game considering when you look at it on paper, both of these secondaries are jack loaded. I mean, Justin Simmons, Jesse Bates, AJ Terrell, Tariq Woolen, Devin Witherspoon, Julian Love, but neither one of them is stopping a cold. And it seems like the secondaries for both these teams have been perennial. Excuse me. See, I'm allergic to the BS they're putting out there right now. That's a several Pro Bowlers and All Pros out there, and they're both getting toasted. But take the over. I take Atlanta. Jared's got the Seahawks. So the battle of birds. Next up, we got. This is interesting. The Bills now with Amari Cooper taking on the Titans, and looking at that spread, -8.5 for the Bills, 9.5+ for the Titans. I don't like that number, but I do like the Bills outright money line. That -440, maybe not betting that, but I do like the Bills to win. But I hate that spread.
You need me to take a pick, and I'll take the Bills outright. But dude, that spread is weird. But then again, I'm just excited for Will Levis's meme of the week. That's all I'm here for at this point. That man needs like a "Time of Your Life" by Green Day, and like just like all of like the plays and then his reactions during them. I just need that for all 17 weeks of the season. Whoever gives that, I will send like $100 check, just as like a thank you gift or Venmo for the fact that you just gave the internet so much great entertainment. But yeah, dude, the Titans are terrible. I have a bold prediction. Will Levis is benched in the next 2 weeks.
I'm going to say it's not even a bold take. I think it's almost locked in. Obviously, it is kind of bold because no one can say it, but I think it's a lot closer behind closed doors than we think at this point too. Like he has regressed as not just like rookie learning curves or young quarterback. Mm-hmm. Like he has looked bad in a lot of these. He's missing a lot of. He's leaving a lot out there.
Most quarterbacks coming into year 2, that's where you see the jump. Hurt, Mahomes, Watson. I'll even go back as far as Wentz, Goff. You know, you can keep going. They're like all the first round quarterbacks. There's always a jump in skill set. I mean, you don't need a jump like Mahomes or Hurts had, but like you need to see something. So even like a Josh Allen jump, because Josh Allen wasn't great his first 2-3 years in the league. It was his 4th year where he really took off. So I'm kind of just sitting here like maybe he's a better UFL quarterback. I will go pay money to go watch Will Levis slinging around the UFL. That'll be fun. I'll throw 55 touchdowns and 20 interceptions. I'm here for it.
Rush in 13 because he likes to dip the shoulder as well. Like that'll be a scene. But I just hope this generational run of memes continues. I'll take the Bills. I do not like 8.5 point spreads. I know the Bills are notoriously over the last few years good at blowing out bad teams, but this year's a little bit different. I will take the money line, or I will avoid this one. The over/under is kind of tempting too, because I can see it being like 31-14, and the Titans get some garbage time. So maybe the over, but we're just gonna take them. I'm not touching that spread. That's goofy.
Yeah, I got
Bengals and the Browns, the battle of Ohio / Kentucky, I guess. But this is what's interesting to me is they are giving the Bengals -5.5. I don't think they realize A, that the Bengals are not that good, and B, that the Browns have their number over the last 5 years. So I'm going to take the Bengals to win outright because the Browns are a mess. But that 5.5 points, or 6 points to cover for the Browns, they're going to cover that 6 points. This is like a 3-4 point game.
They may not cover. It's weird because I was going to talk about it. Isn't Joe Burrow 1-5 or 1-7 or something like that against the Browns over the last like 4 years?
It's 6, something like that. Yeah, it's not good.
Sad. So my biggest question is, like, the Browns honestly played good football against Philadelphia last week. I'll be straight up. Like in the second half, the Browns honestly look like a decent team, and so their defense was starting to communicate. They're getting working. Listen, they got beat by the Eagles were a better team. They beat them, but they were in that game because of special team plays. But if the Bengals can get out early and score, this could be a blowout early. So the problem is they can't stop a cold. I guess give me the money line and the spread. It's a weird line. I don't like it, but I'll take it because I'm not putting this game in the 6-pack, so I don't care.
I want to add into it is the return of Nicholas Jamal Chubb as well. So, and it is in Cleveland. So that is going to be that I think spices it up. So Browns will cover in my opinion, but you'd be foolish to pick the money line for the Browns.
Really going to get in the first game. I'm calling no more than 8 carries.
You never know. That man's a freak. But yeah, we'll definitely see. You'd be a fool to pick the Browns money line right now. That's for sure. Even if you do pick it, it wins. Congratulations. Here's a wheelbarrow for your stuff.
I may just throw 50 cents on it just for the fun of it, but.
Well, that's ironic. I'm saying if you're betting if you're betting dollars, if we're betting
cheddar, yeah,
for sure. Arguably game of the week, part 2. Texans taking on the Packers. As looks like Green Bay is actually a slight favorite as they are the home team at -2.5, and then a +125 to -144 money line. I do really like the Texans. I like what they're doing, but I do think this just feels like a weird game where they might just slip up. So I will take the Packers to win. I'm not going to touch the spread because 2.5 always feels like if they win by 2, you're going to be pissed off. So maybe, and with how close the numbers are, maybe just the Packers money line at minus 144. But I'll take the Packers in this one because I don't think the Texans are going 15-2 or 16-1. So I think they'll slip up here or there.
I have the Texans slip up a little later in the season. So to be fair, looking back, the Packers are an odd team to bet on for me.
Mm-hmm.
Their wins are against your Colts.
Destroyed them on the ground.
The Titans.
Right. Will Levis factor.
The Rams with all their injuries, and the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this as cleanly as possible. They are that team this year. They are that playoff team that beats every team they're supposed to, but when they play a team they're not supposed to beat, they lose. They did lose to my Eagles, and they did also lose to the Vikings, two teams that are possible playoff teams. They're going to lose to the Packers. They're going to lose to the Lions. And to be dead honest with you, Texans might light them up. I do not like the second. Like, Jair Alexander has really regressed. I don't know if you're watching the same thing I'm watching on tape. Like, I think he's getting almost too aggressive because he has Xavier McKinney back there now. I watched Jalen Hurts, after throwing 2 stupid interceptions, start to dice them up. The other thing I watched was that they made Sam Darnold look like it was USC all over again. I was blown away. So if you're telling me CJ Stroud can't drop back and launch a couple rockets into by the way, they have a healthy Joe Mixon, healthy Diggs, healthy Tank Dell, and I believe a healthy John Mechie. So yeah, they'll still score points. And yes, I love that Christian Watson's healthy and he's back. I think he's going to be their number 1 receiver by the end of the season when it's all said and done. I think this is the game where the Packers fans have to evaluate, hey, what are we doing wrong with our game plan? I think their biggest problem is they abandon the run and they do not effectively use Josh Jacobs, and it is really becoming a problem in their offense. It's going to start to catch up with them.
They used him incredibly well for that one game against the Colts where they had 250.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like,
that was the Malik Willis factor. I know it's kind of funny where they should do that with Jordan Love still and make his job easier as well. But one thing's for sure, though, we're both in agreement based on what I said. 47.5. I think we're going to grab a jackhammer to that over at this point. We know Houston's going to put up. They're going to put up an abundance. I think the winner is going to score 30 in this game for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So, cool. Next up, we got the mid game of the week as we got the Dolphins taking on the Colts. Colts are at home for some reason getting -3 as the favorite. I'm not touching that spread because 3 is kind of a joke. And
give me Indy.
I'll take the Colts money line, but I don't like the -3 considering they've been the favorite one time this year and they lost to the Packers. So we're going to go ahead and we'll take the Colts money line, but we're not touching the spread. Over under 43.5. We are hitting the over on that one because the Colts defense stinks and Miami's defense isn't great either.
Hear me out. Jordan, if Jonathan Taylor plays, take Colts like plus a -5.5.
I'll agree with you on that one. If he does play, then definitely hit the spread. But
because the problem is the Dolphins can't stop anybody. This team, when you talk about teams unraveling at the seams, like some people had Miami winning the Super Bowl this year, or even like just going right. Easily win the AFC East, and now everyone's sitting there looking. I'm like, dude, Mike McDaniel's not a good coach. So I think this is one of those games where, like, I think the Colts have had a rough go. I don't know what to do with Anthony Richardson. I don't even know what you would want to do with Anthony Richardson. Flacco or no Flacco, if they can run the football and play smart football, they will win this game effectively. They bring on a Pittman, A.D. Mitchell, Pierce, Downs. It's a great receiving core. They will find ways to score points. So, yeah, give me the Colts plus 5.5 and -5.5.
I will say right now, the injury report is very, very long, and it's DNPs, which they see a lot throughout the year on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, then Friday they practice and they play. So I don't know for sure who's playing, but AR is at least practicing, so it looks like he's good to go, barring a major setback, which if that is the case, AR anytime touchdown is sneaky bet because in the red zone, I think they will let him battering ram his weight. And I don't know who on the Dolphins is going to stop that. That's their best players are Javon Holland and Jalen Ramsey. So he might throw them some picks, but in the red zone, he's going to bulldozer his way.
Oh, he'll at least throw a pick or two tomorrow.
Almost mandatory at this point. So I'll have a full episode on what to do with Anthony Richardson in a few weeks. I'm going to wait, though. I'm not going to be impulsive, but there will be a full episode coming on that one time. Another potential game of the week. We have a few of these. It's a very good week. The Lions taking on the Vikings. The Vikings, I would say, getting their first true test, but they have had a pretty good schedule with teams like Houston and Green Bay. But Now you got the quote-unquote big dogs. They're actually favored -1.5 and the -125 money line. So basically a pick 'em. They gave a slight edge to the whole undefeated thing. That being said, I'm gonna take the Lions. I think it's gonna be razor close. I think there's gonna be a lot of points. I want to see how that defense is going to adjust without Aiden Hutchinson. I think there might be a week there where they just don't get the same pressure. Sam Darnold's gonna get his. I'm gonna take the Lions. I believe Ben Johnson, Jahmyr Gibbs, all those boys, David Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
We're not touching the spread because it's pointless. So go in. I'm just gonna take the Lions money line. Anytime I get plus lines, I'm gonna take that.
Take the over. Take the money line for the Lions.
Take the over in the half too. Like take
yeah,
over.
I just here's the kicker. No pass rush. I think the Lions will go out and get a pass rusher, whether it's a Von Miller, Hassan Reddick from the Jets. I even heard Max Crosby. I was like, guys, I don't think they're selling that early, but there are guys out there they can go out and get.
I heard Myles Garrett, but I don't think they're gonna give up that much.
I don't know how that Myles Garrett thing's gonna work because that's a lot of money they got to move. I can only see a few teams being able to pick up that contract. Also, who's gonna want to give that draft capital? All that's being said, I mean,
that's the one player that people show up for besides Nick Chubb. They got to sell tickets somehow.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll take somebody to help out BG and the boys down the line of scrimmage, but yeah, give me the Lions here. Like I said, better head coach, coin flip, better quarterback, Detroit, better receivers, Detroit, better running backs, Detroit. It really starts stacking up. Better lines, Detroit. Honestly, the defense is weird. But listen, I got to give credit. Brian Flores is coaching to get himself another gig because that defense is playing way above what they should.
Way outside.
That's like a 75 overall defense in Madden pitching shutouts against like 90-plus teams.
That's a squad, like for sure. That's the weird thing with the Lions is they have seen that defense. Like they have seen it the last few years too, so they're familiar with it. So it's still an outstanding scheme. You still have to beat it, and there's still going to be wrinkles. But Jared Goff and Ben Johnson are more familiar with it than, like, let's say Houston, who faced it week 2, or San Francisco in week 3, whatever. It was sort of like, oh, that's a lot going on right there. Oh my God, Andrew Van Ginkel is in the backfield or something goofy. So I think they're a little more prepared. So we're both on the lines, not even touching the spread because it's not existent. Mm-hmm. Jared, this one's yours. We're gonna let you take it out of the gate. Eagles -165 with a -3 spread against Nate's New York Football Giants in East Rutherford.
This line actually went down. This is crazy. It opened up at, I believe, 5.5 on Tuesday. Wow. Or I may be mistaken. I'll have to go back and check. But I believe this line was higher at one point. Yeah, give me Philadelphia. Here's the biggest thing. I am going to talk about this a little bit, obviously, when you give me my my swan song before I leave today. If it wasn't for a Saquon Barkley, not getting an extra 2 yards, and Quinyon Mitchell and CJGJ, my love-hate relationship with that man continues, running into each other on what maybe the dumbest throw I've ever seen Deshaun Watson make. This game is 27-3, and nobody's talking about anything tonight about the Philadelphia Eagles and how, like, Nick Sirianni and Hossie, like, they handle business. But, a 10-point swing, they're down by at one point. It was a rough. It was like he was getting the rust off. I think they needed, honestly, a week just to chill. But give me Philadelphia. I think the biggest problem is the Giants have been beating teams that have playing a lot of really teams. I don't know. The Giants and the Commanders this year have just had like very light schedules, and they've, well, at least the Commanders, so I haven't handled business until Baltimore. I think New York is in for also. Obviously I pray for everyone's health because MetLife is the worst stadium in the world. But I pray for everyone's health on both sides of the ball. I have a feeling Saquon Barkley is going to run wild. I think Kellen Moore is going to make an emphasis on feeding him and letting the Eagles just railroad them until they can pull their starters.
I think they're going to be trying to go 100 with Saquon, like 103 or 100 on the ground. I think that he's going to be the feature for sure. And that pass rush for the Giants, all things considered, that pass rush is elite with Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Azeez Ojulari don't even need Kayvon Thibodeau, but when he is healthy, that's another added layer to it. Mm-hmm. So I think it is smart to get Saquon involved, plus the revenge factor.
Yeah.
And the Giants have a knack for making everything ugly, so that's why -3 +3 is kind of weird. But I have absolutely zero qualms about the Eagles' money line. Like, I think they will win. I'm nervous that somehow they will lose by 2 just to piss me off if I take the 3, because the Giants have a weird knack for making teams just to piss me off, basically, with how they did with the Cowboys. So we're taking the Eagles' money line 1,000 ways to Sunday, though.
One wrinkle, Jordan Mailata is out. Looks like Fred Johnson will start at left tackle.
And Andrew Thomas is out for the Giants too, which makes it even more ugly for them. So no left tackles to this game.
It's going to be an interesting game. I think the biggest problem is I think also Philadelphia. I think the crowning embarrassment of it wasn't the Buccaneers loss. It was the Giants loss. That was embarrassing. I have a weird feeling Hurts, Sirianni, they all remember. So don't be this game either you're going to be ugly as hell or Philadelphia is going to try to just absolutely beat the brakes off them. I am going to try to drive home early from my family trip on Sunday morning to make sure I'm home to watch this game. So I'm in a safe environment. So if I have to yell and throw things and scream obscenities, I will be in a safe space.
That as we all deserve that as well. I will say, I think in the passing game, it is a good idea to get Smitty involved early than let AJ Brown destroy late. I think when they get Smitty going early, it makes things a little bit easier. Just the quick motion stuff. He's just
also
so smooth.
Continue with the drag routes. Nobody can cover Smitty on the drag route.
Drags, whips, just get him the ball quickly. Let AJ Brown will get those down the field once he'll destroy people in the third quarter. Let Smitty own the first quarter.
Keep using Jahan Dotson. He was honestly kind of a matchup nightmare again for the Browns. They didn't really have an answer for him. I don't know if Goddard's playing
in 12 games as a rookie that just disappeared. I don't know what it is. He's still a good player. You just got to get him the ball, basically. They'll figure it out, I'm sure. He's a good player. I still like him. But anyway, we'll get into the battle of ours. The Raiders taking on the Rams at home. -6.5 for the Rams. A surprisingly large spread. I like the Rams. I don't like that spread. I really don't like 6.5, even though I think they will win. And they're just still so beat up. There's still no Cooper Kupp. I believe he's still out. There's still no Puka Nacua. I'm going to take the Rams, but I'm not touching the money line, and the spread's goofy. I don't like 6.5 in this game because the Rams haven't really won big this year, even in the games they've won. They won close, and they did get destroyed against the Cardinals, but other than that, it's always close. So we're going to take the Rams. Maybe the Raiders at +6.5 is kind of tempting, but I don't think they'll score points either. So we're just going to take the Rams money line here.
We on the Korner Booth would add this game to the untouchables list where we don't bet on it. We won't talk about it unless there's something hilarious that happens. Just give me the Rams. The Raiders are abysmal, and they're now tanking for Quinn Ewers, Shadur Sanders, or Cam Ward.
If we're going to bet on this game, it's Kyron Williams anytime touchdown because he has been rolling getting into the end zone for sure. So next we got what could be a blowout, but could also not be, is the Commanders take on the Panthers. Commanders -400. I believe that is an 8.5 point spread for the Panthers. So I will take that 8.5 points. I think they will cover at +8.5, but the Commanders are winning this game. Let's not get it twisted, but they'll cover at +8.
Commies +10 or -10. I keep saying plus. Commies -10.
It is in FedEx. One might be the second worst field in the entire NFL too. So hopefully everyone stays safe in that one. Hopefully the sideline doesn't collapse on anybody trying to walk out again. So
only for Jalen.
Only for Jalen. And for the fifth time we have a really good slate. We got the Chiefs take on the 49ers, Super Bowl rematch by the Bay. Chiefs coming off a bye week. That's all I need to say. And they're getting points. We're going to take the Chiefs to win. I don't love them, but coming off the bye week, as well as anyone, Andy Reid is basically death taxes. Andy Reid winning off a bye week. San Fran got a little bit on track against Seattle, but the Chiefs aren't going to do the same thing Seattle did. I think Juju's going to fill a little bit of that role in the receiver spot for Rashee Rice. Not to the same degree, but good enough. And you give them a bye week. Chiefs just find a way. They get to 7-0.
San Francisco's a good team, like a very good team, but they're no longer a great team.
They're not elite.
They're not. This is not last year where they were just going to beat the brakes off everybody. Brock Purdy looked good last week because he had to look good, but you can see the difference without McCaffrey, how that offense becomes very mortalized. Yeah, they were able to run the ball, and the Seahawks, the Sea Chickens, congratulations. Everyone can run the ball. DJ, you may be able to get about 200 yards between the two of us on that defense.
150. I don't want to toot my own horn too much. I'll get 50 receiving, though.
It's okay. I'll be out there running for anger. They've screwed me on so many parlays the last couple of years. Why they call them the Sea Chickens. Anyway, we don't know if Jordan Mason's playing or not. He was at practice, so there is a possibility. But it's Andy Reid off a bye week. Like you said, death tax. Andy Reid wins. Give me the Chiefs money line. I'm running with it.
Absolutely. And you're giving them +1.5 too. I might just take that for fun too. I might parlay those two together just to be a jerk. Just
Once
because
again, this is literally just like every other team in their division is so bad. They're probably going to win this division with 6 losses, maybe 7. Because they have a rough schedule, but every other team in their division is terrible. So, give me the Chiefs to win out right here.
Next, we have Sunday Night Football, as we kind of alluded to earlier. Danger Russ making his debut against the Davante Jets. And for your boy Matt, and because I don't really trust the Steelers that much as well, too, we're going to take the Jets even at -1.5, -122. They need this game. They really, really do. You can't come off the last couple of weeks they had and then lose, and then trade for Davante and lose. And I don't think this is not the defense to come back for your first game and light it up. I know Josh Allen had some success and the Bills did. This is not Josh Allen, and this is not the Bills. And this is not a division matchup that you've seen 1,000 times over. So give me the Jets to win and -1.5. They'll get that easily. I'm not touching the over-under because as soon as you take the under, Aaron Rodgers looks vintage. As soon as you take the over, they both look old. But I'm taking the Jets and they'll cover -1.5.
Give me the Jets as well. The Steelers to me are just like, there's so much potential and talent. This is like the story of the Mike Tomlin era. Like they should beat the snot out of teams, but yet they're like 9-8, 10-7, maybe 11-5, but usually around that.
Playoffs, get a wild card spot, get eviscerated by Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes.
Either Russ is going to throw for 4 touchdowns this weekend, or Aaron Rodgers is going to throw for 4 touchdowns, and it's going to be fun either way. Yeah, give me the. Ooh, that over/under is really low. Hell,
I want to take that over, but
give me the over and give me the Jets money line. I'm feeling frisky.
All right, we're feeling frisky now.
Also, if they start scoring points, we have to come up with a nickname for that offense that's based off of like a Call of Duty kill streak.
Harrier strike.
Yes.
AC-130. There we go. AC-130
nah,
for
the
real ones.
They're not planes, they're jets.
The real ones remember Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
Oh yeah, the OG one, not that garbage that came out in 22 that I played the death out of anyway. But
for the 9th and final time today, arguably game of the week as the Ravens take on the Buccaneers, a battle of 2 division leaders. The Ravens -180 favorites, getting -3.5 in Tampa Bay. I'm going to take that +3.5 for Tampa Bay. I think that's tough. You know what? I don't like the Ravens defense that much. I don't like the Buccaneers defense that much. So go ahead and give me +3.5. Give me the over. We're going to take Tampa Bay winning. I think Vita Vea will find a way to keep Derrick Henry from getting 200 yards. He'll cap him at like 120. And Levante David.
The Ravens came in clutch for me last week when I boldly predicted that the commies' return to Earth would start slowly this week. I think the Ravens are the best team, not named the Texans in the AFC. No, not named the Texans. They're the third team. They're the third best team in the AFC behind the Texans and Chiefs. Listen, the teams have proven if you can rush the passer, you can run the football, you can score points, you can beat a lot of teams. The Buccaneers are a okay team. They're not like as good as their record looks. I think everyone forgets their loss to the aforementioned Broncos, and the fact they basically took on an Eagles team that was down to the third left tackle by the third quarter. And everything was just going wrong in that game. That game was just a beatdown from the start. I will say this though, the Buccaneers have a lot of talent at offense, but I don't like that defense either, man. Yeah, give me the Ravens to go in there and whoop them a little bit. I think the Derrick Henry Lamar show keeps rolling. I don't care if it's via Veda. I don't care if it's the second coming of Warren Sapp. Nobody's stopping that rushing attack if they get rolling early. And also the fact they're getting Mark Andrews involved with Zay Flowers, who's quickly becoming a top 10 receiver in this league. Also, the revival of Rashad Bateman. Let's hear it for Rashad, man. Like we've been waiting for since 2020 for him to come out and actually be a decent player.
3 years, 2021.
Yeah, so and look at Rashad Bateman becoming a solidified number 2 receiver. I love and appreciate it. So, Ravens give me the dub here. I think the Buccaneers are going to start to be humbled a lot next couple weeks. I do believe they have a couple other playoff teams coming up on their schedule. So, I believe this is the first of a few dings in the armor for the Buccaneers.
We're both on the over, it sounds like. So 49.5, that's a high one, but it feels like neither one of us like either defense that much.
Their defense is terrible. I just hate that number.
You and me both, but you know what? You felt frisky earlier. I'm feeling frisky now.
Yeah. So just last thing, they play the Falcons next week. Then they get the Chiefs. Then the 49ers.
They're going 1-2 during that stretch at best.
I think they might go 0-4. Then they get the Giants, a little reprieve, but it's in the Meadowlands. Then they get the Panthers, Raiders, Chargers, Cowboys, Bucks, Saints. They basically, after they get past the 49ers, they can win every other game the rest of the year. So this is the problem. If they can survive, they may win this division because their schedule is so front loaded.
Absolutely. It's going to be very soon. Them and the Falcons, I think, is going to be a very fun race down the stretch. So that's going to be fun. And the last game that I'm not going to say is one of the best games of the week, Chargers taking on the Cardinals, keeping it short and sweet. Chargers win, Chargers cover. I like Arizona and Kyler, but no Marvin Harrison Jr. They're banged up. Their defense, they can't even stop a tissue that is covered in cold, let alone stop a cold. J.K. Dobbins is going to run wild. Kamani Vidal is going to run. 2 running backs will score for the Chargers. And Justin Herbert, when he needs to, will Justin Herbert. So give me the Chargers and a cover.
Thank God this game is only on ESPN Plus because I have no interest in watching it. Yeah, the Chargers to me are this weird anomaly where I've not watched a single play of their entire season this year, and I really don't have any intention to. I watched one highlight. It was of my boy Q Johnston finally becoming a decent NFL receiver. God bless that kid, man. I felt so bad watching him drop everything, but I'm happy Jim Harbaugh's heart's okay. The Cardinals are so bad. Everyone was all about, the Cardinals could be a surprise team, and I'm like, y'all know who's coaching them, right? That's my boy Jay Gannon.
They need another draft class to fill up that defense and offensive line.
Oh my God, they can't stop anybody. They did have a fun win over the 49ers, though. They caught him sleeping.
Best game of Kyler's career, arguably, too.
Oh, yeah, he was playing out of his mind. Give me the Chargers. I don't know that. Sorry, I was yawning.
-2.5. You feel?
Yeah, the thing that's killing me is honestly this under, the over under. If I swear it's at 48.5. I'm like, I'm slamming this under. Now I'm like, I could easily see both teams scoring 21 points. So.
Yes, perfect. So that's what we got for the pick'ems. Go ahead and let us know in the comments what you all are thinking down below for the pick'ems this week as well. But that is now going to take us into what used to be Kelcey's favorite part of every show, and that is crunch time. And for crunch time, we like to have a little bit of fun here when we have a guest too. We basically like to do some sort of rant recap, which is basically we get a chance to get a little bit of something off of our chest. So you know what, Jared, as our guest of honor, go ahead and lead the way. What's on your mind today?
All right. So usually when your team wins a football game, even if it is my team at this point, usually there's some critiquing, obviously, and even if it's an ugly win, you still take stock in it. I have never watched the national and local media for the Philadelphia Eagles eviscerate a team for winning than I have this week. Shout out to my man Frank Michael Smith, by the way, because he kind of got me started on this take because he talked about how Sirianni barking at the fans. If you guys didn't see the clip of Nick Sirianni kind of yelling at the fans a little bit, as thank you, DJ, for bringing this up. By the way, the fan went to Reddit and actually talked about this experience, and because he yelled at Sirianni to run the ball more, and he goes, just watch. Sirianni gave the ball to Saquon and Kenneth Gainwell, I believe, like 9 times on one drive, and Jalen even had to run too. And he says, see, awesome. What'd I tell you? And that's all he said to the guy. So, and that's all he said. But of course, the camera from this angle, it looks abysmal. It looks terrible. It looks like he's just barking in. But then, him, if he never apologized, I would have been like, fine. Honestly, I love this Sirianni. When the Sirianni's like this, the Eagles win games. When you don't have him getting crazy, getting the other team pissed off, having other coaches call him an ass, it's kind of like, it's not the same effect. When you have the captains of the team like Brandon Graham and Jalen Hurts both telling him to get animated and be the motivator on the sideline, he's not Andy Reid. He's not Bill Belichick. He is a energizer guy. He is one of the guys. Yeah. See, here's the story right here from the fan on Reddit. And he even has the photographic proof to prove he was the fan he was talking to. But honestly, it wasn't like he was yelling. He was just saying, yeah, run the ball. Nick's like, you see, we ran the ball. So I love this. Nick Sirianni, you should rescind that apology, my friend. You are a fun team to watch. I also love Buzz Cut Nick, by the way. I want to make this a thing. I think Buzz Cut Nick is unhinged Nick Sirianni, which is when the Eagles are the most dangerous. Also, the other part of this game that really bugged me is everyone's talking about how the Eagles dropped in the power rankings, and on every poll I saw, everyone's ripping them apart. Even Eagles fans like, everyone's done with Sirianni. They all calling for Belichick. I'm like, yeah, we 3-2. Like, what? I mean, besides, Mailata's hurt and his hamstring injury, it's unfortunate. And Goddard, we don't know what the stats of him and Slay. We have a pretty deep team. The one position we weren't really deep at when it came to talent drop-off was wide receiver. And I'd say quarterback, obviously, and halfback. So basically just our skill positions in offense. But defensively and offensive line are the two positions we actually have depth in, right? So my biggest thought was, everyone's like, oh, Vic Fangio looks terrible. Bryce Huff, by the way, had a half a sack and about, I think, 5 or 6 pressures on Sunday. Cooper DeJean looked incredible in this nickel. Zach Bond and N'Kobe Dean were leading the defense. Quinyon Mitchell, again, put together another masterclass game. Damn, even like CJGJ wasn't terrible. Neither was Isaiah Rodgers or Slay when they were on the field. I'm just thinking, every year we always talk about teams that kind of start rough, like the Chiefs last year. Weren't they 2-2 or 3-2 at one point? Like, they were not doing okay. I have also the Patriots in some of the years they've won the Super Bowl. I'm not saying Philadelphia's going to win the Super Bowl. I would love them to. I think they can. Everyone is so obsessed with what's happening in the moment and not understanding this season is a 17 lap marathon. Every game is a sprint, but there's 17 sprints in the season. And who's to say that Philadelphia hasn't figured out? Because, by the way, they put Bryce Huff in a sprinter stance, a 4-point stance, which effectively on film, he's more effective. Dude had his best numbers of the season. They were getting Nolan Smith more involved. Amazing numbers efficiency-wise. Josh Sweat was in for more rundowns. He's a better run defender than Nolan Smith. And Brandon Graham was playing out of his mind in his 16th damn year, or 15th damn year. What the hell? Like, that's my favorite part of this whole thing, DJ, is that one of our best defensive players is 36 years old playing defensive end, and he's just doing it well. But yeah, no, Eagles fans have to relax. That was literally the title of my show. The national media, including Mark Schlereth, that schmuck Nick Wright, I cannot stand him. Colin Cowherd, to an extent, still love you, Colin. You're one of the reasons I got into this profession. And, of course, all the other Eagles reporters, Seth Joyner, John Clark, Reuben Frank, all of them. Just relax, fellas. It's okay. We got the Giants this week. We're the opposite. I think our next 4 games are all winnable, even if we're playing half-assed. I think Philadelphia is in the best position they've been in years into the start of the season. Where last year I was dreading November 20th through December 15th, where they had to play the Seahawks, the 49ers, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Dolphins. I was just losing my mind. I don't think they have a stretch like that. And the last time I checked, and this is to quote Sal Palantonio, who was just on, I believe, the John Carr podcast this morning, talking about the Eagles. He said, the Cowboys can't win at home. The Giants are abysmal, and honestly, if they know it's good for them, they're going to really start to try to get after it and lose. That leaves the Commanders, who have not played a proven team all year, except for the Ravens, who can't stop anybody, and they can only put up 20 points. So, by the way, just to hear me out, here's the next couple games of the Eagles schedule. Giants on the road, Bengals on the road. You told me Bengals on the road early in the season, I'm freaking out now. I mean, our defense is going to have some problems, but our offense should be able to move the ball pretty well. Get the Jags at home, Cowboys on the road, Commies at home, Rams on the road, Ravens on the road. Ravens on the road, we are going to lose. That game we will lose in Baltimore. I believe it's a 4:25 game. But then we get Panthers, Steelers at home as well, Commies on the road, Eagles hosting the Cowboys, Eagles hosting the Giants. That's the potential to be a 12-5, 13-4 team. I don't make it up. I'm just showing what I see. And everyone's got to chill the hell out because last time I checked, we have a defensive rookie of the year candidate again. We have a lot of depth on that side of the ball. Vic Fangio's an old Grizzly vet. He'll figure it out. On offense, guys, at the end of the day, we have 3 top 15 players on that offense, and that's not even including linemen. If we want to include linemen, then we have 5. Okay? Between Hurts, Saquon, AJ, Mailata, and Lane Johnson, we have 5 top 25 top 30 offensive players on one side of the ball. They're all top 5 of their position.
I will highlight the one thing to take note out of that everyone should take note out of. It is week 7. We have a long ways to go. Nobody should be getting fired right now.
DJ.
We don't need to be firing Nick Sirianni, just like the Jets did not need to be firing Robert Saleh. We were going to
No,
fire
I
him.
will say they need to fire. They need to fire.
I think they should have fired him 4 months ago if they were going to, personally.
Yes.
I think that you're ripping off a late Band-Aid at a point when it made less sense, is all I'm saying. Now you made it a little bit weird, but I don't think it's a little early to be calling for people's heads as a whole. Just like it's a little bit across the board. It's too early to say Sam Darnold's the MVP and the best quarterback. It's too early to say Joe Flacco is the Messiah. Actually, you know what? That one's okay. But everything else, it's a little bit too early.
Especially if you ask my co-host, Chris Lipoff.
That's why I had to retract it just for him. But I do think there's a lot of season left. We could reel it in. Once it hits November, that's when you start eliminated. Let's get to like mid-November, closer to Thanksgiving. Then, okay, now we're concerned. Even just the first week in November.
We have this college football mentality for the NFL for that first half of the season where every game means like death and destruction. Oh, by the way, the last team that dude behind me was on, one of the last teams, that 08 Eagles team that was, I believe, almost mathematically eliminated in December, then goes on a 5-game winning streak and goes all the way to the NFC title game and loses to Larry Fitzgerald and basically just Larry Fitzgerald. And the Cardinals in that 08 season. Oh, by the way, if they beat that Cardinals team, they were smoking the Steelers and having a Super Bowl. So, Giants, I believe, were in 2007, were almost mathematically eliminated. And then they went on like a 6-game winning streak and made the playoffs 8-8 and then won the Super Bowl. It's an early part of the season. I can give you 5 teams right now, DJ, before I go that are that are done. They're not making the playoffs. They're screwed. I'll give you the Broncos. Jaguars.
They're gone.
Titans.
They're not going anywhere.
Browns.
They're dead.
And Raiders. That's it. That is the only teams I think. And I guess I'll throw in the Rams too.
Did you throw in Carolina or did I miss them?
In Carolina. So it's fine. 7 teams that are out. Well, we knew that.
Exactly. Like, no, there's no well, maybe the Rams a little bit.
I mean, me and you did also take on my playoff preview show we both kind of took the Raiders to be a surprise team, but that's a whole other.
I did not. Kelcey took the Raiders.
Oh, yeah, it was me and Kelcey who both took the Raiders to be a surprise team. Yeah, that's my bad.
You know what? Hindsight's 50-50.
There's not enough candidates, 50 milligram pouches in the world to make that pick. Okay.
Not quite. But before we get out of here, Jared, go ahead and let the people who might not know, but they damn well sure are about to know, let them know where they can find you and what time they could catch your show. And who
you
the heck
can find me, myself, my massive forehead, my crew at All Things Korner Booth Pod. We go live Mondays at 5:30 Eastern Time, new time. It's a little easier for us. Also, it allows us to get the game ready, everything ready before Monday Night Football. We also go live on Thursdays for our Korner Booth pregame. Now we'll be broadcasted live on both our Facebook, Belly Ups, as well as Instagram, and we are officially verified on Twitter as of, I believe, tonight or tomorrow morning. So we will be broadcasting on Twitter again. So shout out to that, as well as the Belly Up YouTube channel and possibly the Korner Booth one. We haven't decided yet. But either way, we're on a lot of different stations. The Thursday show is the one you want to watch. Well, actually, they both are, but Thursday's usually the one DJ's on. Kelcey drops by occasionally. We pick games, talk about the week's upcoming things. We talk smack about who's going to win, who's going to lose. Oh, and we have a new guy, Dom, gambling expert, very smart individual, one of the best. He's not a handicapper yet, but he's one of the best odds guys I've ever met. Good friend of mine from Connecticut, and he wanted to get involved in sports, and he had a good debut show on Monday. So if you didn't want to go listen, let me think of Dom. We'll be dropping by tomorrow. I believe Hector is filling in for Matt, and DJ's coming on, so it should be a good show. But yeah, All Things Korner Booth Pod. You can follow me at Belly Up Jared or Korner Booth Jared, depending on the social media app website. I got to figure out how to fix my name on X. But that being said, DJ, thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to have you on as well, too. And be sure to let us know down below, guys, what you thought. And would you like to see Jared come on more often as well? So be sure to check out Korner Booth every Mondays and Thursdays as well. But we appreciate y'all for hanging out with us, and we'll see you all again next time.